it is clear that God knew the kind of turbulence you are going to face, but he also knew that he has the right tool for the job. The country needs a very resolute person and a very bold person, and I am sure we got the best. And His Excellency, Your Excellency, when I was in class 6 in primary school, I have an uncle who is still there even now, who was doing some businesses here in Nairobi. And he used to visit us in Muranga in a yellow KUI, a vehicle, the only vehicle any of my uncle had, KUI 216. And when I was in class 6, because my uncle was this well-built people, and of course with the public opinion, and that time when we were in class 6, you know that the pinnacle of making it, number one, is of course to have a vehicle, and if possible, a public opinion. So, mimi nikaita baraza kwetu nyumbani. And I told my mother and my father, this familia yetu, yule mtu ambaye na I look up to is my uncle, because he has a vehicle. Na mimi nikisoma historia ya my uncle, hajasoma sana. So mimi nikaambia my mother and my father, since I want to be rich, and my uncle is rich, and my uncle didn't go to school, mimi wacha nianze biashara saa hii, kwa sababu naona sio masomo peke yake. And I started, by the way, a kiosk. My father was understanding. I started a kiosk, my first kiosk, in class 6. Unfortunately, by the time I was reaching class 7, a boy who was becoming number 2 was depreciating. So my father, of course, told me to ward up the shop, and that was the first comma of doing business. So my father realized I had an ambition. Na kuna ile kitu ilikuwa inanifurahisha ya kuwa na duka. But he also realized that he had a divine responsibility to raise up a son. And therefore, whatever was fashionable to me then, whatever was good to me then, my father had to make it become a postponement. He had to tell me, yes, it is good, but it's not the right time. Na akaniambia maneno ya biashara kwanza ikwame. His Excellency the President, God has made you the President of Kenya, but also the father of our nation, Kenya. At such a time like this, our country does not need populism, and especially irresponsible populism. My father would have told me, kijana yangu nakupenda, wewe fanya biashara. But he had a divine role, not just to please me, but to do what is right for my future. Mr. President, you came to a country where our public debt is 9 trillion Kenya shillings. You came to a country where inflation was almost going to double digit. You came to a country where much of the workforce, the able workforce, 36% of those who are qualified to work have no jobs. You came to a country where we are not even able to feed ourselves. Mr. President, you had a choice to make us continue in bliss and enjoying ourselves in oblivion, or make the hard choice, make us tighten the belt now for us to have long-term stability in the future. And I am glad that is the route you have taken. And I want to request my fellow patriots, my fellow countrymen, it is very easy for a president to please the nation. Very easy. We may not even have to pay taxes. We may not have to do too much. But then what are the kind of countries that are in that kind of situation? And I want you to compare all the countries with very low taxation. We compare with their standards of life. And I agree, and you agree with me, the president has chosen the stability side. And after doing that, what is the situation now? Some of our peers in terms of countries, a country like Turkey, which is part of OECD countries, rich countries, their inflation rate is over 70%. Some of our neighbors here, and I can't mention names, their inflation is above 33%. As we talked last year, the inflation of Kenya is currently 7.9%, and it is headed even lower, and especially after the blessing of rains. And therefore, Mr.